Ladies and gentlemen, while we sit here and speculate what the Switch 2 is going to be like, play like, what it's going to be called, when it's going to come out, all that stuff, I'm wondering how many games are realistically going to come out for this? And a big thing to do with that is this thing going to be backwards compatible? I thought it would be fun to go back and look at the last couple generation launches and seeing how many games those consoles launched with and see if we can get ourselves an answer. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So today we're going to look at how many games launched for the Wii, the Wii U, and the Switch, and then we're going to see if we can get ourselves an answer how many games are going to launch for the Switch 2. Before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, it would really mean the world to me. And I stream Tuesday and Saturday night right here on YouTube. Come hang out, but let's get into this video. So first we're going to start with the Wii, and I counted really quick, but I think there's like 25 games that launched with the Wii. Off the top of my head, I would say like Wii Sports is all I can remember at the time. Because I think that was included. We have Avatar, we have Barnyard. Dude, Barnyard movie used to go so hard. That big cow. Cars, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. This is a good game right here. Dude, look at a lot of these games kind of feel like shovelware, like Barnyard, Cars, Happy Feet. I actually had this Cars game. Madden NFL 07, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch. People say it's pretty good. Creature from the Krusty Krab. I don't know about this, SpongeBob. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. I actually love Monkey Ball games. Whoa, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Whoa. Dang, Twilight Princess was a launch game for the Wii. So this was probably the big system seller, right? Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam. This game is horrible. And Wii Sports. But 25 games nonetheless. And that's quite a few games. Like, that's probably the most launch games ever for a Nintendo console? Well, at least that's what you would think, right? The Wii was highly successful. So moving forward to the Wii U, of course it was going to be a success. And how do they make it a success? Well, they make the name super confusing. Wii U, sure, who the hell cares? And they launched with 32 freaking games. And here is the Wii U launch games. Assassin's Creed 3 and Batman Arkham City. Both pretty good games in my opinion. Black Ops 2, that's a crazy game to launch with. Darksiders 2, there's some really good games on here. Disney's Epic, Mickey 2, a bunch of sports games, Mass Effect, Ninja Gaiden 3. New Super Mario Bros. U was, I guess, the system seller. You know, every Nintendo console launches with a Mario or a Zelda game. That's the game that they launched with. That's okay, I guess. But there truly is some heavy hitters on here. This is an amazing launch. Last night on stream, we were kind of talking about this and looked it up. Did you know that no Wii U game ever sold over 8 million copies? Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U only sold 8 million copies. That's insane. That this console had so many freaking games going for it and couldn't even break 10 million copies of one game sold. And the entire Wii U sold like 13 million consoles. It's so crazy. One, I think it really did have to do with the name Wii to Wii U. It didn't kind of make sense to the average consumer. And when you looked at it, since the Wii U, like where you put the disc in, looked just like a Wii, the Wii U gamepad just looked like an extra accessory for your Wii. So that's one of the main reasons I say having the Switch and the next Nintendo console is a double-edged sword. Like having the name Switch gives it brand recognizability, but then it also makes it look like, is that just a better version of the Switch? Like Switch, Switch Lite, Switch OLED, Switch whatever, like, oh, I already have one. So it's a double-edged sword. We'll see what happens, but 32 freaking games. So the Wii, 25 launch games. The Wii U, 32 games. That's so crazy to me. I just can't get over this. I will admit some of them are filler games. Some of them are shovelware, but there's a game here for everybody. It's pretty insane. So if the trend continued, Wii 25 games, Wii U 32 games, maybe the Switch would have 35, 40? Yeah, that wasn't the case. The Switch launched with 10 games. In Japan, it only launched with 7 games or 6 games, but 3 of these games utilized motion control. So it was weird, like maybe they're like, well, the Wii was super successful because of motion controls, maybe we should bring that back. You can kind of tell they didn't know what direction they wanted to take this generation. Breath of the Wild though, this is the definition of a system seller. This is a huge reason why the Switch is so successful. I think Breath of the Wild equates to like 25% of the Switch's success. I could not wait to get a Switch because I could not wait to play Breath of the Wild. I had to get a Switch a year later, used from a pawn shop because I just couldn't afford it at the time. But the first games I got, Mario Kart and Breath of the Wild. Skylanders Imaginator bundle, this game is so crazy. Look how expensive this game is now. $399 freaking dollars. And if you just want the Switch cartridge, like just the game, it's like $180. You can get it for like $140 just with the loose cartridge, but this is so insane for a launch game. I Am Setsuna, it's a little RPG. Shovel Knight, both of these games are good, but are they system sellers? I wouldn't say yes. And Fast RMX has good graphics, but it's like an F-Zero clone. This is not much to launch a console off of, and it's weird. It's because you came from a failed console where you launched 32 freaking games, and for this one you only launched 10 games. Like, you know this has to be a success, you know it has to be a big hit, and you don't really have much games at launch. In the first 3 to 6 months, a bunch of good games did come out, but this is not much for a launch. So knowing what we know now, what do we think the Switch 2 is going to launch with? It was really funny because last night we were talking about this on stream, and I was like, I wonder how many games the Switch 2 will launch with. Will it have 5 games or 10 games? And somebody in chat was like, no, it's going to have like 4,000 games. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And they were like, if it's backwards compatible, it's going to have every Switch game at launch. And I was like, oh my god, that's such a crazy thing to think about. But if there's only like 2 new games for the Switch 2 at launch, or 3 new games, why would you buy it at launch? You would wait till there's enough games to justify buying this new console. We need system sellers. If it's backwards compatible and there's only a couple games, then there's nothing that's going to make you buy that system. A 3D Mario game, I guess, is a system seller, but we've had so many Mario games in the past year and still coming this year. It's like, are they really going to release another Mario game at launch? A Zelda game, I could see like a remake or a port or something, but thinking about it, I think the number one game that would sell a Switch 2 to diehard fans of gaming, the average consumer, just everybody, would be a new Mario Kart game. Like, if there's one game that would guarantee a successful launch for this next Nintendo console, it would be Mario Kart. Not going with backwards compatible. Just leave that out of the whole question. How many games do I realistically think would launch for the Switch 2? I would have to say 10. I think 10 makes perfect sense, especially if it's backwards compatible. And if it's not backwards compatible, I think they would still probably go with 10. Most new consoles are backwards compatible, like the Wii U to the Wii to the GameCube, the Game Boy Advance to the Game Boy, the 3DS to the DS. I think with the Switch, we could see that happening. And I think it could be a weird cartridge thing, just like the DS and the 3DS. Like, Switch will work on the new console, but the new console stuff won't work on the Switch. And a side note, I would love to see colored cartridges come back. Like how there's Pokemon Yellow cartridge and it's yellow, and the Crystal cartridge is like this weird see-through color with sparkles. Like, man. But I digress. We're not here to talk about that. We're talking about launch games. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about all this? Did you play Wii U, or Switch at launch? Do you have any of these launch games? And how many games do you think this console should launch with? I would seriously love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with my social media. I'd really appreciate it. You guys know me. I'll see you soon with a new video. Peace out.